Welcome to episode 25 of Fighting Illini Live. I am your host, Nate Keogh. As always, T-minus 1 week and change until the college football season gets going for Illinois. It is 9 days. It's August 20th. Today we play on the 29th. Week change, and then Illinois football is back for one of the most anticipated seasons, if not the most anticipated season, arguably, in program history. We are so close to the first game that we even have a line out. Our first line against Western Illinois next Friday. Illinois is favored by 46.5 points. That's a big line no matter who you're playing, even though Western Illinois is one of the worst teams in the FCS. 46.5 points. Wow, those are quite some expectations, even if you're playing a high school team. Really, that's a lot of points. But no doubt that our guys can get it done. We absolutely kicked the crap out of Eastern last year, week 1. I have no doubt that they're going to be able to do it come next Friday against the Leathernecks of Western Illinois as well. But 46.5 is your first line of the season. Tonight, we've got 3 juicy topics for you as things are really picking up now. The preseason is at its end. The non-conference schedule for basketball has been announced. So we will be talking some basketball. Haven't talked about them in quite a while, but we'll be talking some b-ball tonight since that schedule's out, and that's always exciting. Then we're going to be talking about the season ticket situation for the Illini. They are sold out of student season tickets for the year, so I will be touching on that and my reaction to that. Obviously very happy. And then we will cap the night off with our final opponent preview for the 2025 off season, talking about the Northwestern Wildcats in the finale tonight. Of course, tonight's episode is brought to you on the Voice of College Football Network. So, without further ado, here is a word from our CEO, Mark Rogers.
College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole, show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click Join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.
All right. Cannot wait to gamble on college football. Literally shaking. I'm just kidding. Sort of. First topic of the night, we are talking about the basketball non-conference schedule, of course, that I just mentioned about a minute ago. So the full non-con schedule is released. So here it is. Starting on October 19th, they will host an exhibition game against Illinois State. Then the season truly opens on November 3rd against Jackson State. Next, November 7th against Florida Gulf Coast, one of the best 15 seeds, one of the best Cinderellas ever. Then on November 11th, things get really serious. They will host the Texas Tech Red Raiders in Champaign as the start of a home-and-home with them. And then on November 14th, they will host Colgate. Not a crazy opponent in Colgate, but they've been in the tournament a couple years. They're always that 14, 13 seed that I always like to pick when they're in it. And they just have always let me down. Then November 19th, we meet again with Alabama in Chicago. And then November 22nd, they come back home for a quick little 2-game stint that week. Long Island on the 22nd. And then on November 24th, they will play UT Rio Grande Valley. So definitely some cupcakes in between facing Bama and Chicago, because then on Black Friday, November 28th, they will be traveling back to Madison Square Garden to take on Tennessee for as the third year in a row. And then December 22nd, then they get a nice break right before the holidays. And then right before the holidays, they do face Mizzou in the bragging rights game in St. Louis. And then they will cap off their non-con on December 29th at home against Southern University. So that is 11 games, obviously not counting the Illinois State exhibition on October 19th. It is a really tough non-conference schedule, despite not having any road games in there. And it's not like there aren't some cupcakes in this schedule, right? I mean, Jackson State, FGCU, sort of. Colgate, definitely. Long Island, UT Grande. That's such a mouthful. UT Rio Grande Valley, and then Southern University. Definitely some cupcakes in there, but man, there are some tough games. 4 of those 11 games are neutral site games, being Bama, UConn, Tennessee, and Mizzou. So definitely doing their fair share of traveling. They're going to be in Chicago this year, which I really love. They haven't been to Chicago in a while. I used to play at the United Center, and I used to go to that game every year. So glad to see them not only back in Chicago, but a marquee opponent to face in Chicago as well. Because 3 of those 4 opponents that they are facing are 3. They have too many numbers. I'm just not functioning. 5 of those 11 games are against Power 5 opponents. 3 of them, which made the Elite 8 last year in Texas Tech, Alabama, and Tennessee. And the other 2 made the tournament as well, in UConn and Mizzou. So that's 3 SEC teams. SEC coming off the best year any conference has ever had in college basketball, statistically, based off the amount of teams that they got into the tournament. They're playing 3 teams. They're not gone. And they're the same 3 that they played last year as well. They wrapped up a home and home in Tennessee last year. They lost that game by 1 freaking point when Tennessee was ranked number 1 in the country, but they are running it back now for a neutral site game in Nashville. Not super neutral, if you ask me, but at the same time, we're playing a neutral site game against Alabama in Chicago, right? So that's not really, it all evens out in the end for sure. A lot of these neutral site games deserve quotation marks. But 3 SEC teams, as well as a Big 12 and a Big East opponent. Yes, it is Power 5 in basketball, by the way. Nobody correct me on that, because the Big East is Power Conference. It used to be like Power 6 when the Pac-12 was considered good. Maybe the Pac-12 is back. I don't know. They're like, honestly, I feel like they're like the best group of 5 conference out there. I feel like they're not really power level. But Big East, when it comes to basketball, certainly on that level still. So, yeah, I mean, playing a lot of teams that they all played last year. They already played Bama, Tennessee, and they play Mizzou every year, obviously, in the bragging rights games. That's not so crazy. It is adding UConn in Madison Square Garden, which is a big game. That'll be a revenge game for Illinois for 2 reasons. One, the last time they were at Madison Square Garden, they got absolutely obliterated by Duke last year. It was absolutely brutal. So need to set things right in front of the New Yorkers. And then also revenge against UConn. Obviously, they didn't play each other in the tournament last year, but it was 2024's tournament that UConn took care of Illinois pretty easily in that second half of that Elite 8 game there. So really tough schedule for the Illini overall. Adding Texas Tech is the other one. starting a home and home at Texas Tech. So they will host them this year and then travel there next year. But Texas Tech was in the Elite Eight, just like Bama and Tennessee were. Really tough games. And, the rest, definitely cupcakes, really. But that's 5 really tough games for sure, especially because this is a team that's only returning 3 of their starters, right? This is nothing like the football team that we've been talking about all year. This is a basketball team that is young, has some transfers, yes, but still new to the program, young transfers. They'll be good, but some of these teams, especially like that first game against Texas Tech, unfortunately, I got to say that could be a rude awakening, right? I mean, we won't really know the kind of Illinois team we have until we see them play Texas Tech on the 11th, that being their 3rd game. So we'll see. I mean, obviously, I love a hard non-conference schedule because those losses don't look that bad when it comes towards the end of the year, right? Like when you're playing cupcakes, you're really only risking something, right? Like they play these teams close but lose. The committee isn't going to hold it against them that much as long as these teams are still, good, functional, and all 5 of them should be for sure. So yeah, 5 really tough games. Then I would say 6 cupcakes in that schedule. Good balance too, honestly. Like they're somewhat nicely spread out. Like I like that UConn, Tennessee, Mizzou are all right at the end, minus, playing one more like cupcake against Southern before, the new year. And then you start playing in the Big Ten schedule, which they've been very good in the Big Ten schedule. Ever since Brad Underwood's taken over, Illinois has had the best record in the Big Ten over that span, like against the Big Ten. In Big Ten play. That was confusing the way I said that. But that's the basketball schedule for you. Definitely some marquee matchups to look out for come November and December. But right now we're talking September, October, November, in which there will be many football games hosted in Champaign, and of which there will be many, many fans in the seats because it was made official this Monday. Student season tickets, rather, because the normal ones are already sold out. But now even these student season tickets are officially sold out for the 2025 season for Illini football. That's great news. There are roughly 8,250 student season tickets that were sold to make that sell out. That is up 1,500 from last year. They opened more student season tickets, opened more seats to the students, and they still sold it out like they did last year. That is per the Illini Athletic website saying it, that giving you those numbers there. Student section is like the Block I North end zone section. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't really make sense in words. And then parts of sections 101 and 102 as well to expand that student section by 1,500 seats. Student season tickets have doubled since Brett Bielema took over. That just shows the impact he has had on campus alone, with the success that he has brought this team. This is was almost the last domino to fall, really, in terms of ticket packages selling out for the season. Public season tickets had already sold out. Suites are sold out. The Colonnades Club is sold out. And the 77 Club. All of them sold out already. Your only hope of getting to an Illinois game, if you don't have a ticket for one right now, is praying that there are some single game tickets available, of which there are none for Ohio State on October 11th. That game is fully sold out, and that will be an orange out as well. There are still some limited single season tickets available in the month of September against Western Michigan on the 13th. I will be there, actually. Please come say hi. I'll let you guys know what section I'm going to be in once I find out, but I am very happy to say that I will be at that Western Michigan game. I will also be at the Indiana game at Indiana the following week. So if you're also brave enough to journey to Bloomington with me, come say hi as well. The episode that week, I'll let you know what section I'm sitting in. But yeah, I'm going to go into both those games back-to-back weekends. I'm excited to travel to Bloomington. Our brother's there. So, come down, give him some shit, get a win, get out of there with my head still attached is the plan. The USC game then the following weekend, though, on the 27th. Some single game tickets are still available for that one as well. They still haven't announced any of the game times for the Big Ten schedule, which is just driving me crazy at this point. Like, why? Like, even when I was doing my research on Northwestern, not all of theirs are announced, but some of their game times are announced for their Big Ten schedule. Because I was doing my research for the opponent preview that I'm going to get into in literally a couple seconds. But why don't we have game times for this? Like, why hasn't College Game Day finally announced that they're coming to both the Indiana game and the Ohio State game? Like, come on. I know they don't announce it that early, but that should be a night game. Like, it's only a week, or it's the first week of conference play, right? Like, things aren't really going to get shaken up those first 3 weeks, minus, a couple exceptions, right? So I don't know why we can't just do that. But overall, I'm really excited. I'm going to a lot of these games. I might go to the Ohio State game as well. I might travel to the Wisconsin game at the end of November as well. I'll keep y'all posted whenever I'm going to be at a game, just to let you know where I'll be at so you can come say hi. But I'm super excited to be part of these atmospheres for sure, right? I mean, with sold out season tickets, sold out all the other tickets pretty much. I'm sure those single games are going to go by the times these games are. There's already very limited, even on September 27th for that USC game. There's really not, like, get that ticket now if you want to go to that game. So it's just really exciting overall, right? I mean, this doesn't come as too much of a surprise, right? I mean, this has already been labeled as one of the most hyped seasons in program history. And clearly, as of Monday, we have indisputable proof that the students at the University of Illinois are buying the hype as well, because they bought every last one of those 8,000 plus season tickets available. All right, for the back half of the episode tonight, we are going to be doing our final opponent preview. Final preview, really. Ever since this show began back in February, we've been doing first position group previews, and now through the summer we've been doing opponent previews. It's been a whole lot of previews, and I'm really, really excited that we're no longer going to be just guessing and speculating. We're finally going to get to see what happens with this season come next week. I'm just really excited. But we're talking about Northwestern. We do have one last opponent to discuss before the summer is over, and that is the Northwestern Wildcats. Illinois will be hosting them in Champaign on November the 29th. That is the Saturday after Thanksgiving, as they typically do, since that is the big in-state rivalry. They save that one for the end. Northwestern is also playing Western Illinois in week 2. So Western Illinois will be in Champaign week 1 to get crushed next Friday. And then first week of September, they'll probably get crushed less, but still crushed in that temporary stadium that they have up in Evanston. That's really goofy, but really cool at the same time. I honestly kind of have mixed feelings about it, but we don't have to worry about it because Northwestern is coming here this year. Or I shouldn't say here when I live like 30 minutes away from in Champaign. They're coming in Champaign, where I am not. I don't know why I said here. But in Northwestern, before meeting us, will be capping off a 2-week homestand. They'll face Michigan and then Minnesota back-to-back in Evanston before coming down to Champaign for that final matchup of the year. All time against Northwestern, our Illini are 58, 55, and 5. That's a lot of fives for you. And they are 27, 25, and 2 in front of the home fans. Their last meeting came on November 30th of last year. That same thing, that Saturday after Thanksgiving is when these teams typically meet for their big rivalry to cap off the season. And that was played at Wrigley Field, since Northwestern didn't want to host us at that temporary stadium. So they played that game in Wrigley Field, which is very, very weird in terms of dimensions and stuff. Like, you overrun the end zone, you're going straight into a freaking brick wall. I'm not exaggerating at all. I feel like that's dangerous. A lot of baseball stadiums are not meant to fit regulation-sized football fields. But it doesn't matter. We beat them 38-28 in that game at Wrigley last year. Our last meeting in Champaign then came the year prior, November 25th, 2023, in which the Illini definitely had a down year for sure. That did the Illini, and Northwestern was actually pretty good in 2023, which we'll get to in a second. But they beat us that time 45-43. Their first meeting goes back all the way to October 12th, 1892, in which there was a thrilling tie, 16-16, back in the day. Their next meeting then came the following year in 1893. This was then their first meeting in Evanston, and they tied again, 0-0. I would want a refund on my nickel, as I've been saying, as there have been a lot of 0-0 ties in the 1890s. The more we look back at these really old, historic Illinois opponents. The one after that, though, somebody finally won. The Illini won 66-0 in Champaign on November 3rd, 1894. How are you giving up 66 points in 1894? They hadn't even invented the forward pass. How are you that bad? Oh, my God. Those people are probably just trying to understand the game at that point. I must have had their minds blown by all those points. Anyway, the recent history for Northwestern, as I always like to look at the last 5 years of our opponents' programs, see where have they been recently, kind of where are they at now? What is the context for this Northwestern team? Obviously, we'll know pretty much the outcome of both the team's seasons by the time they meet, since it is the regular season finale that we'll be getting at the end of November. But last year, Northwestern was they were 4-8, 2-7 in the Big Ten, and 2-3 on the road. Their wins were against Miami of Ohio, Eastern Illinois, at Maryland, which is a pretty good win, and then at Purdue. Their losses were Duke, who Illinois will meet with. Northwestern has played Duke a ton the last few years. But finally, it's Illinois' turn. They lost to Duke, but it was only 26-20. That was in Evanston. Not a bad game against a decent Duke team that the Illini will be seeing first weekend of September this year. They also lost at Washington, to Indiana, to Wisconsin, at Iowa, to Ohio State, at Michigan, and then finally to our Illini. So they did not make a bowl game. But in 2023, they were a lot better than that, actually. Last year was a bit of a letdown for their second-year head coach, because in 2023, he was pretty dang good when he took over the program in crisis. He's 8-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten, 2-3 on the road. They ended that year on a 4-game win streak after an start. They lost to Duke again. They have not beaten Duke in the 4 straight years that they have played them. They did beat Illinois then 45-43. That's when they beat them in Champaign. They really didn't score a whole lot this year, honestly, which is crazy that Illinois gave up 45 points there. I guess leave it to Illinois to do that. They also made it to the SRS Distribution Bowl in Las Vegas, in which they beat the Utah Utes 14-7 at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. That year was completely out of nowhere, because in 2022, they were hot trash. They were 1-11, 1-8 in the Big Ten, and winless 0-5 on the road. Their one win came in week 0. You know how they do that one game in Ireland every year? It's coming up, actually. I forget who's playing it. But they do that one game in Ireland every year to like kick off the college football season. And they beat Nebraska in Dublin in week 0, 31-28, and then never won again. So they didn't win a single game on United States soil in 2022. They lost to Duke again. They lost to Southern Illinois and Miami of Ohio. And they got absolutely obliterated by the Big Ten. They hosted Illinois in Evanston. That was Illinois' last game at the old Ryan Field before they get this new one in a couple of years. And Illinois smoked them 41-3. 2021, they were 3-9, and not that bad, but still, not a good year. They were 1-8, 0-5 on the road again. They lost 6 straight, actually, after a 3-3 start. They lost to Duke again, got destroyed in the Big Ten again, got destroyed by the Illini in Champaign, 47-14. And in the shortened 2020 year, they were actually even better than they were in that surprise 2023 year. They were surprisingly good in the shortened COVID season. They were 7-2. They started 5-0, including a win against Maryland, 43-3 to start the year. Their only loss the regular season was actually at Michigan State, meaning, yes, they did beat Illinois in Evanston that year, 28-10. They took care of business against the Illini. Their only other loss besides that Michigan State game was in the Big Ten championship. Northwestern was in a Big Ten championship this decade. If you remembered that, props to you, because I did not remember that at all. Oh, my God. They lost to Ohio State, though, in that, so they didn't make that playoff that year. But they went to the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, everyone's favorite, and they beat Auburn 35-19. So that was a really good year for them. Their head coach is David Braun. He's entering his 3rd year. Kind of an interesting situation for him, right? He took over as head coach at the start of the 2023 season. He is 12-13 after 2 years with the Northwestern Wildcats, and he's 1-0 in bowls. He's got a bit of an interesting journey. He did some defensive line at, I believe, Culver College. He was a defensive line coach there. Then he was a defensive line coach and linebacker coach at Northern Iowa from 2017 to 2018. Then he took over as the defensive coordinator for North Dakota State out of the FCS from 2019. Held that job until 2022. In January 23, he was named the defensive coordinator for Northwestern, but then was immediately made head coach because Pat Fitzgerald got fired. There was that whole hazing scandal that Northwestern had that led the coach to being fired because they basically found out that he knew about it and did absolutely nothing. So he got fired for that. He sucked anyway. I don't know why they were going to keep him. He's coming off a 1-11 year. So he kind of got thrust into the spotlight all of a sudden. Like, he just got his big first job as a defensive coordinator, and now he's got to coach this dumpster fire of a team, and he did a great job. He did a great job of that 2023 season. As the interim head coach, he snapped their 14-game road losing streak with a win at Wisconsin and was immediately signed to officially be their head coach in the long term, no longer an interim. He was also named Big Ten Coach of the Year that year. It was the most wins, with 8 wins, for a first-year head coach in Northwestern history since 1903. But again, a very, very disappointing year for him last year. Even as someone who hates Northwestern with a passion, I was still, you got to root for the guy. I mean, what a bizarre story. Just kind of right guy in the right time, kind of coincidence. Last 30 seconds here, I want to run through some players that you're going to have to watch out for really quickly on this Northwestern roster. Yes, I was able to find 10 entire players that are formidable on this roster. No shade, though. You got Aiden Hubbard. He is a senior edge rusher. He is the captain of their defense. You've got Caleb Tiernan. He is an offensive tackle with NFL-level talent. He is a NFL prospect and the leader of their offensive line. Then you have Mac Unlin. He is a linebacker. He was their leading tackler last year. I definitely botched his name. Cam Porter is a running back senior. He's coming back from an ACL injury. He missed pretty much the entire 2024 season, but definitely reliable back before that. You got Preston Stone. This is going to be the real wild card for the Wildcats. He is coming in at quarterback. He's a senior transfer from SMU, and he definitely has a chance to kickstart this offense that just really hasn't been good. Even when they were good in 2023, it wasn't that good of an offense. Then you got Yanni Karlaftis. He's a linebacker and a senior. He is the younger brother of George Karlaftis on the Kansas City Chiefs, if you're familiar. You got Damon Walters. He is a safety, a sophomore. He was an all Big Ten honorable mention as a freshman last year. You have Griffin Wild. He's a wide receiver transfer from SDSU. He is a new deep threat for them to play with. Then you got Anto Saka. He is an edge rusher. He's a junior pass rusher. He's also getting some NFL buzz. Not quite a prospect yet, but definitely in the cards for him. And then you got Xavier Gray. He's an offensive tackle and another veteran on that offensive line. That does it for episode 25 of Finding Illini Live. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. Next week, we're going to be talking about how some of the newcomers have done in training camp, and then we'll put in our final season predictions. One more episode of the offseason, and then it is go time. Thank you so much for spending your Wednesday evening with me. ILL.